About. Hello, welcome to Sound of Fury Book Reviews. As usual, I am Tina. Today I am doing a book review of The Fall of Hyperion by Dan Simmons. This is a sci-fi from 1990. It is the sequel to, you guessed it, Hyperion. Hyperion. There you go. I heard somewhere on the internet that these two books were supposed to be one book. So this kind of makes sense because part two is less of a sequel than just like a continuation of part one. It basically just broadens the world building and explains mysteries from the first part. So it's not, you definitely have to read Hyperion before you read Fall of Hyperion, just saying. There are no spoilers in this review for The Fall of Hyperion, but because it's so intricately connected to the first book, there are spoilers obviously for the first book, Hyperion. So if you plan on reading this, do not watch this review. At the end, I do have a few spoilers from book two about parts that I really liked, but I'll warn you when those are coming so you don't listen to them. I'm going to interrupt this video to show you an ad. It's only like 10 seconds long, get over it. So this is Perils of Sea and Sky by Lillian Horn, a brand new fantasy novel. It's a high fantasy with steampunk elements. It's focused on Scandinavian myths, so there's lots of monsters that you haven't seen before. There's a mysterious island covered in fog. There's sky pirates, there's ship battles. There's this no-nonsense female ship captain who basically just like lays down the law. There is a sexy dude called the Forest Devil that I totally shipped. And there's so much. This book is so much fun and it's elegantly written. It's so beautifully written. So I totally love it. And disclaimer, I'm affiliated with the publisher, so this is definitely an ad, but I wanted to put it out there, and don't worry, I won't be doing this all the time. But yeah, check it out. It just came out on September 20th. So yeah. What is The Fall of Hyperion about? On the world of Hyperion, the mysterious time tombs are opening, and the secrets they contain mean that nothing anywhere in the universe will ever be the same. Smallest blurb ever. Just like the first book, this novel is intricate, complex, and highly thematic. The book is rife with allusions and references to other works, especially classics, which serve to tie the story into the past as well as the speculative future. Yet it's a bit too focused on these things at times, taking the allusions from interpolation to a bit didactic in their intention. At times it felt like he's a bit too obsessed with Keats, and we all don't share that obsession, so maybe tone it down. I really enjoyed the broadening of the world building, though, from the first book. We learn far more about how the universe is structured, how the portal technology functions, and there's also a very obvious suggestion warning of what can happen if we rely too much on technology we don't really understand. The concepts of time dilation and FTL are rendered very realistically in this novel, both their challenges and their advantages. Unlike the first book, there is less focus on the pilgrims of the time tombs and more on Gladstone, the leader of the universe, essentially. I really enjoyed the scenes with her political machinations, though I didn't really understand how she was in charge of the worlds and how that complicated structure was maintained. Like, how is she in charge of the entire universe? I don't really know. I don't know, but who knows? Who knows? We have people in charge of entire countries with millions of people, and no one cares about that, so whatever. Simmons, as much as his prose kept us at a distance, which gave it that kind of classic sci-fi feel, has some wonderful lines and turns of phrase. For example, Morpongo looked at his oldest son with pride so fierce it bordered on pain. I really liked that line. There are also a few twists that tie into book one, but also add new layers to the story as a whole. I very much enjoyed it, and I think Simmons is an ambitious and talented writer. I have The Terror sitting around here in my room somewhere, probably up in that stack. I do plan on reading it at some point. I'm very interested in seeing how that goes. I have watched the show already, so it's like I'm just waiting to kind of forget what happens in the show, so when I'm reading the book, I'm not like, oh yeah, I know what happens. Yet, when it comes to The Fall of Hyperion, I didn't adore it. It's not my favorite book of all time. This could be because, while it's fascinating, it's not entirely immersive to me. The narrative jogs in almost cliffhanger-like breaks, especially with Kassad's battle, and aside from one bit at the end, the destruction of worlds felt more like on the periphery. Kassad's section in Hyperion was one of my favorites, but in this one we hardly get any battle scenes, which was a bit disappointing in a book about galactic war. Sorry, I keep shaking my head because there's a freaking fly in here and I can't get it and it's driving me crazy. Like, it's on my microphone. Go away. Go away. No one likes you. I'm also still not sure how the cryptid thing actually functions in terms of how they gleaned an exact personality from someone dead for centuries, including their medical disorder. Though it's possible I missed it, as Simmons doesn't tend to over-explain. I just don't understand if they engineered this guy, why they would bother giving him consumption. I don't I just don't give him that. I don't know. On a personal level, I'm also not as interested in hyperspace and AIs, which make up a lot of the plot in this one. I'm also not interested in theology, so that particular vein of the novel was very boring to me, as was the focus on churches and religions. I was just like, overall, though, I definitely enjoyed the novel, and I think the hype around it has merit. If you haven't read the books, I recommend them, though don't take too long between the books, because they really are one book. I think you do need to read them fairly close. I read Hyperion last year, I think around this time, or maybe it was actually late last year, so close enough that I remembered all the characters and stuff, but I wouldn't recommend waiting like 5 years between reading the books. Now, I'm just going to venture into a few spoilers here. Some things I loved, some things I didn't. So, spoilers, obviously. I loved the scene where Morpongo and his ship are about to be destroyed, and the instant before they do, he looks at his son and he says, "I love you." Usually when military men are depicted on screen, they're very stoic. You know, the father and son would give each other a nod or something at the time of death. They're like, yes. But in this moment, it was fantastic and quite moving for a minor character, and I really liked that depiction of military people having actual emotions. I really liked the depictions of how the destruction of the Farcaster technology affected everyone. The people who are like 11 years apart now do via Hawking Drive, for example. That was a very hard-hitting collection of scenes. It would be like if here on Earth, all of a sudden the world were EMP'd, you know, like in Escape from LA, and how long it would take for people to get to one another. Not 11 years, but still, it's actually horrifying to think of children trapped on another world from their parents or toddlers at daycare. Like, that just like, oh, that scene was awful to read. And it was really good. It was just like, oh my God. I did think it was a bit reductive that Braun's storyline ends up with her being the mother to someone important. By 1990, the women as vessels for the chosen one was just reaching cliche status. So I'll give him a pass on that one, as Braun doesn't appear to be reduced as a person in that role, at least as we have yet to see. That's why Sarah Connor is really important, because she basically takes that trope and punches it in the face, saying that, yeah, okay, you made me the baby bearer in the first movie, but in the second movie, I'm not just there as the mother. I have my own character, and I have my own goals and my own, I'm contributing to the plot. Where usually if you had a mother character, she's just like there to like, help the chosen one along. So we'll see. I don't know. I obviously haven't read the other two in the series, so we'll see if Braun's even in them, and if she, doesn't fall into this kind of trap. So we'll see. I don't know. Simmons has pretty good female characters, so I'm pretty... That's why I'm saying that I think I'll give this one a pass. I was annoyed, though, that we never really learned what the Shrike is, and as such, it has a magical quality to it that it felt a bit too fantasy for me. Same with the Braun's walking on air thing. Like, what was that? I don't know what that was all about. I do hope Hunt finds his way off old Earth. Poor guy. I feel bad for him. I liked him for some reason. I don't know why. I think because I have a friend named Hunt. And so every time I read about him, I thought of my friend. And I was just like, oh, he's trapped on a planet now. Anyway, yeah, those are my spoilers. Let me know what your favorite parts of the Fall of Hyperion were. And obviously, maybe put some lines so people don't see the spoilers in the comments. And yeah, so let me know. Thanks.